Hey everyone, welcome to the Legacy Dynasty mock draft, year 2 of me doing this. Last year I wasn't super successful with my picks, but I decided to try again this year. So let's get into it, we'll run through it. I'm going to do most of it by memory for the rosters because otherwise this video is going to go a really long time. So here we go. Browns, I have picking Trevor Lawrence. I know the Browns put a post up saying that they wanted to, or they would listen to trade offers, but even if the Browns don't take him, whoever trades up to 1, it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. I think that's pretty safe. At number 2, the Raiders also need a quarterback. So either they trade up to 1 to take Lawrence, or else they can stay here and take Zach Wilson. A lot of people they don't seem sold on Zach Wilson, but I view him as kind of like the next Baker Mayfield. He's not going to be a superstar necessarily, but I think he will be a solid quarterback for years to come. I think you can get a good 10 years out of him. The Vikings don't need a quarterback, so the next item on their list would be a running back or at least a skill position player. And running backs being as hard as they are to find, I don't think that there's any doubt that it would be any other pick than Harris. The Colts need skill positions players, and I know Chase is the favorite. I went with Smith here only because the Colts quarterback is Jalen Hurts. So I was looking at it from this point of view as your quarterback is throwing to your wide receiver, so double points. But this could easily be Chase, and it could also easily be Pitts now that Julio Jones has been traded. So Smith for this exercise. 49ers, if Pitts is still here, I don't see how they don't take Pitts. I know right now he's listed as a tight end, but with Julio being gone, I wouldn't be surprised that even if he stays listed as a tight end, that he'll play a lot more wide receiver type roles. He's eh, he's in my top 3 favorite players of this draft just to cheer for. He's so crazy athletic. So here's the pick that I just traded up for, and if Chase falls here, there's no doubt I'm taking him. I have 7 players on my board that I view as worthy of a first round or early first pick. None of them were going to be there at 10, so I traded up with the Rams just before I did this mock. So I gave them the 10th pick, and I got number 6. So I will be taking Chase if he's here, but if Pitts is here, he's gone too. So I don't think I'm tipping my hand by saying I'm taking a top offensive player at number 6. Cardinals could use some running back help, and I think Travis Etienne could be a good pick here. He may not run the ball as much this year, but I could easily see him being like a 70 catch, maybe 1,000 yard receiving stat, as well as adding up to 500 yards rushing. That's kind of how I see him. So I think this would be a great pick at number 7. Number 8, we've got the Colts again, and they still need wide receiver help, so I gave them the other Alabama wide receiver. And unfortunately, the Creative Commons, there weren't a whole lot of images for some of these players, so I had to go with stock images from the school. So, sorry about that. The Chiefs need a quarterback, and top 2 are off the board, so this could be Fields, this could be Lance, or it could be Jones. I went with Fields just because I feel like he's maybe got the better chance to start sooner, but again, it's a toss-up, but it should be a quarterback here. The Rams dropping down to 10. I personally don't see offensive value at pick 10, which is why I moved up. But Micah Parsons to me could be a Devin White type player who just led, I think, all defenders in scoring last year in our league. So if you can get a 300-point linebacker at number 10, to me, that's a win. Chiefs again. They need running back help. and the running backs really drop off after the top two, in my opinion. So this was kind of a forced pick, but I've seen Williams go higher in some of the other drafts. So I guess it's kind of banking on Gordon's health in Denver and how he plays, because Williams will be breathing down his neck for playing time. The Chiefs are back again, and they need a wide receiver. So I went with Rashad Bateman. I've heard him compared to Devontae Adams, so skill level wise, that could be a crazy good pick. And I felt better after reading yesterday that Lamar Jackson is going to be operating under center more this coming year, which means that they may throw the ball a little bit more, and Bateman's going to be their possession type wide receiver. So he could be in line for quite a few catches, maybe not the most explosive stat lines because they have Brown to do the deep stuff, but Bateman could be a solid pick here. Jaguars need running back help, and again, this may be more of a forced pick, but in some of the drafts I've seen, offense is getting forced up the board a lot, just because there's not quite as much out there as you get deeper into the draft. So I've seen Trey Sermon go even higher than this. And to me, he's a sneaky pick there in San Francisco. If he's healthy, he could very easily become the lead back or even the number two back. And we've seen that even the number two back can put up a lot of numbers in that Shanahan offense. So the Colts are back again. And again, I feel like this is another push pick, but Michael Carter, in my opinion, is the next best running back. And he should push for playing time, and be a decent point getter for the Colts. 49ers are back again, and they need linebacker help. And a lot of people seem high on Jermaine Davis. He's not my favorite out of the group, but I've seen him going highest in most drafts. So he plays for the Washington football team. So, you know, some people were kind of comparing him to Brian Urlacher, and I don't know if if that's fair to Davis, but we'll see how it goes. The Falcons, I have taking, they need wide receiver help, so I have them taking Elijah Moore here. It's a little bit cluttered, maybe. I don't know. Moore's not, to me, isn't a for sure thing, but again, I think he's the next best wide receiver, and offense is getting pushed. Browns are taking Rondale Moore, who is with the Cardinals. This might be a little bit of a projection pick because of how many mouths they have to feed in Arizona this year. But I think by next year, this guy could be their major deep threat and could be a really good player for quite a few years. Be good for a lot of explosive plays, and I think he can return kicks. So you should be able to get return yards out of him as well. The Falcons still need wide receiver help, so I have them taking another shot. Terrace Marshall is in Carolina, and again, I'm not sold on him because they have Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, and I think they have David Moore. But Marshall was with their offensive coordinator, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was their offensive coordinator. So he knows him well, and he'll know how to use him. So this could end up being a sneaky good pick here this late in the draft. The Jets, this is another projection pick for me. Nico Collins has some wide receiver one type tape, but he sat out last year, so it's going to be difficult to know, how much he'll be able to impact the game this year. But in a year or two, maybe this guy could be, the leader on your offense. The Bills need a wide receiver. So I went with another one who has a ceiling, from what I've heard people say, of like an Ancon Bolton, which certainly would not be a bad thing to have. This guy's not speedy, but he's strong. He's a hard worker. He'll block. He'll make the contested catches, and somebody has to catch passes in Detroit. So this seems like a decent risk reward pick to me. Um, so I'd love to see him do well. It sounds like he's a really hard worker. Um, and the Bills would be really happy if he worked out for them. The Chiefs are back again, and they need linebacker help. So I gave them Zaven Collins, and he's one of my sneaky picks, if you can even call it that, since he's a first rounder all day, every day in every draft. But the guy is huge, and he can move. I think he's slotted to play middle linebacker right now with the Cardinals. But my guess is he'll probably play middle linebacker on rundowns and then switch to outside linebacker on passing downs. So you should be able to get the tackles and the sacks from this guy. So that could be big. Eagles. This is kind of a value pick. There's still quarterbacks on the board. Eagles, I think, are 1 year away from needing a quarterback. So to get a starting quarterback that falls this far to you, it seemed to me like versus the other players you could pick, this would actually be a really good pick here. The Patriots, they need a wide receiver, and so I went with Amari Rodgers. Um, Rodgers is, to me, a bit of a wild card pick because while the Packers love to use a slot wide receiver, the other Rodgers, who may or may not be a Packer, could really affect his value. Um, if Aaron Rodgers is still a Packer or plays this year, then this Rodgers could probably have a really good year because Rodgers loves his slot guys. If it's Jordan Love, then maybe they go to more of a 1 to 2 wide receiver smash mouth offense to try and limit Love's throwing, in which case this Rodgers could suffer as well. So risk reward here. The Steelers, again, Mac Jones is still sitting here in this draft, and if a starting quarterback falls to you and you could use a quarterback either this year or next year, to me this is a no-brainer to take in. Okay, so the Colts are back, and they could still use running back help. So I went ahead and pushed Chuba Hubbard up here. I think that he's going to get a decent amount of playing time as the Panthers won't want to overuse McCaffrey. And also, I think he's a very solid backup option if McCaffrey does get hurt. Hubbard should be capable of carrying the load, and we all saw what Mike Davis did in that role last year. And I think Hubbard can do the same thing. All right, so the Rams are back on the clock, and one of their needs is defensive end. And one of the most athletic and maybe the best defensive end of the class is still sitting here. So to me, this makes perfect sense. But it could also be Jalen Phillips, Gregory Rousseau, whoever you feel is the best one could slide him in here at defensive end. The Cardinals need linebacker help. Still? I can't remember now if I gave them a linebacker earlier or not. So this is one of my other top 3 players I'm cheering for this year is Jock. Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa. There's, I think, a question as to whether he could be a linebacker or a safety with the Browns, but the Cardinals could use either. So to me, this is a good pick either way, and he should be a tackling machine out there. Dolphins need defensive ends, so Jalen Phillips happens to be sitting here, and I think a lot of people agree that Phillips, if healthy, can be a big time contributor. And yes, he's in his UCLA uniform here. They didn't have one for his. Who did he play for? Was it either the Hurricanes or the Gators last year? I think it was the Hurricanes. So this was before he transferred. But yeah, he could be a solid pickup here at this point in the draft. Jets also could use defensive ends. So to me, Rosso is kind of the third guy in the pecking order. Um, but it could also be Basham if you believe that he's going to be the better defensive end in Buffalo. But I think Rosso has a better chance, like a higher ceiling than Basham does. The Panthers. So he's been talking a lot about how all the scouting he's done. So I have no idea what he's going to do with this pick, but he could use a wide receiver. And unless he's got something up his sleeve, Tony to me is the last wide receiver really worth a pick until much, much later. So while there are other better players here, to me it feels like if you are going to draft a wide receiver, then you got to go here. And Tony's really the last one that I would say comes close to a first round rating. So we're all prepared to be surprised. We'll see what happens. So the Chiefs are back on the block again, and they need linebacker help. So I went with a Chiefs linebacker for them. I think Bolton could be a tackle eating machine, so this could be I don't know that he'll get many turnovers, but he should sock away the points with those tackles. All right, and with the last pick of the draft, or the first round of the draft, rather, I have the Falcons taking Pat. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Fryermuth? 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 However you pronounce it. he, the Falcons could use help at tight end. If I remember right, they don't have one either under that's signed to a team. And Fryermuth could be um, a decent reception player, I guess. You get those points for the receptions. So if he gobbles up some short yardage and lands a lot of catches, maybe some red zone targets, he could turn into a decent tight end option. Otherwise, I don't think there's much for free agents out there. So you could wait and take a pick on a even riskier tight end later, but this one kind of made sense. If you need an offensive player, if you need a tight end, then this guy might be your best bet here. All right, so thanks everybody. I tried to keep that short. I think it was shorter than last year's. We'll see how well I did, I guess. Starting Tuesday morning, I think, is the draft. So good luck, everybody, and hopefully you enjoyed. I'll catch you later.